Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back, or welcome to another Bangs audio review. For this one, we're going to take a look at the Nice HCK F1 Pro. The question is it good enough to dethrone the market-breaking Artti T10? And that is what we will discuss and answer in today's review. So before we get started with the actual review of the set, let's put this in a little context, shall we? The specific driver, and meaning the specific size driver, 14.2 millimeter planar magnetic, that's important. Because this seems to be the new quote-unquote generation or next gen version of that driver. Now, there's some history to the 14.2, and for that we have to go back to 2021 when the original 7 Hz timeless was released with that driver, or at least maybe the first iteration of that driver. Anybody who's been in this hobby long enough, and by that I mean probably more than a few months, knows that the 7 Hz timeless was in of itself a market breaker at the time. It was, first of all, the most approachable price-wise planar magnetic driver, and second of all, probably the most successful insofar as like sound quality, presentation, everything. There are people to this day that benchmark things against the 7 Hz timeless. That's how good it is. Honestly, that's how timeless it is. So starting there, at least that, as far as a commercial sort of widely available release of a 14.2 goes, I think that's what we're looking at. There was a whole flurry of activity in 2022, including a revamp of the 7 Hz timeless, and that was a collab with Angel Ears. So you had the timeless AE that came out fairly a fair chunk higher in price, and people loved that one as well. Utilizing the same driver, maybe not the same implementation, but at least the same driver. You also had the first Nice HCK F1 14.2 planar that came out in 2022. Made some notes in case I lost track, but yes, so there was also the Tin Hi-Fi P1 Max, the big panda, that came out in 2022 in that 14.2. Now we're fast forwarding. So fast forwarding to 2023, 2024, let's call it right around the end of 2023, start of 2024, you had the release of the Artti T10. You had the release of this guy right here, the Nice HCK F1 Pro version, which they call the new gen, 14.2, and also the Tigerism Helianthus, which is a $500 IM that also utilizes the 14.2 millimeter planar. In their description, they say, quote unquote, this driver is reserved for the very best IEMs. So take that for what it's worth. I mean, they could be saying that because their IEM is $500 and others are much less. But the fact that I believe the Helianthus has been reviewed by Zeos, and from what I recall from that review, he liked it quite a bit. So if this is the new gen of the 14.2, quote unquote, new gen, next gen, it's a really, really good sign for what's to come. Because honestly, this iteration, the F1 Pro, absolutely a fantastic IEM. And considering it's $100 or just under, makes it a great, great value as well. You can see what you get. We'll go through that a little bit here quickly. Stock tips, there's plenty. So it's just these 3 bags here. These are what I ended up using to test it. So you've got silicone, sort of normal bore, I would call that. Silicone wide bore, and like a ton of sizes, like small, medium, medium, large, large, medium, like really cool. And then these guys, which are like a soft, really narrow bore, but a very soft silicone, which I ended up using. I usually use mediums, but I ended up using the large on this one because it just fit better. I got a better seal with it. Those were cool. Definitely focused the base a little bit more than the other ones. Whether that's a good thing is personal preference. Also used the Tangzhou Tang Sanchai tips, the Zeos Render tips. Those are the stock tips. Those are the stock tips. But because I wanted to make everything equal, God, look at how gorgeous these things are. And listen, for better or for worse, for the past 45 years, I've been an LA Chargers fan. Now, they were in San Diego for most of that time, so I still call them the San Diego Chargers. But when they came out with the powder blue uniforms, everybody loved them, including myself. And this IM is so reminiscent of that powder blue and gold that the Chargers wear sometimes. So I immediately was drawn to them aesthetically. They are a gorgeous, gorgeous IM. Back to the tips. You see the Sedna Ear Fit X Elastics from Asla on them. There's a reason for that. Well, they sound really good, first of all. Second of all, that is what I used to... Where's my Artie? Ah! Hiding. That's what I used to AB. So, just so you guys know, the exact same tips were on the Artie for this extensive battle, this almost war that the two of them went through over the past several days. I'm not going to get to the results yet. We're going to do the review first. But anyway, the question remains, did they dethrone the Artti T10? And I will answer that at the end of the video. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and spoil it for y'all. Case, really nice leatherette zippered case, hard shell, so well protected. Cable, nice HCK makes cables. This is one of their nicer cables, I do believe. I don't know which model it is, but it is great. Termination in your choice of 3.5 or 4.4. You know I got 4.4. I don't have to say that every time, but I do. Yeah, so cable's great. IM is an aluminum alloy, machined shell, beautiful colorway on them. It's just premium. For $100, it's just a premium experience. Box itself, yeah, it's fine. There's no like crazy amazing unboxing experience here, but it doesn't really need to be, in my opinion. There's some paperwork in there. This is where the case was, and the cable tips were under here. I don't care, honestly. Like, part of me thinks that the less packaging the better, unless you're getting into TOTL IMs and you want to have that wow factor when you open something. Like, if something costs $500, I want a wow. If something costs $1,000, I want a wow. I want to be like, okay, I don't want to put this packaging away. I want to display it. It's fantastic, but I display everything anyway. So anyway, on the sound, on the review of these guys, I did go through my usual, you can see it there, usual playlist to try to get a lot of different things going on it. Virginia Beach is my sub-based test track. It passed that with flying colors, lots of rumble. Blue Train is my instrument placement, separation, imaging, staging. Again, really like A to A+ on that. Paint the Town Red is my mid-bass test track, and it definitely has the slam that you want. Try is my sort of background circular 360 tracks happening. It definitely presented that well. Let's see what else. If You Love Me, Melody Gardot, her voice, that's a big test on how natural or maybe how intoxicating or clinical, and this definitely leans more towards the middle of that, meaning very correct in its presentation of her voice. Diamonds, kick drum, I just like to see how that feels. does great, sounds great. And then bleed, because it's super like heavy, busy, really did well in presenting bleed without being muddy or distorted or any of those things. And then, you know, I do like obviously utilize quite a bit of Tool and Fear Inoculum and Mastodon and Emperor of Sand. I use a number of different tracks on those to, you know, just basically test the technical chops and see if things are there in the presentation that are supposed to be. So it did really well across the boards. Performance-wise, I guess I never did get to N in a Trebco on this, probably because I was too busy being with the Artti T10 that I definitely didn't maybe give it the full run through of genres and tracks, but I almost didn't need to, honestly, because it just is a really good set. I mean, I will say this, like if I hadn't gotten the T10 first, the video I made about the T10 could very well have been about the Nice HCK F1 Pro, because it's that good. I mean, really solid. And it's great value too. Well accessorized, great cable, awesome sound quality, good detail retrieval, really like, I would call it a smooth planar presentation, so it doesn't seem to have a lot of peaks. There's a fairly, I don't know if you call it steep, but definitely like a noticeable ear gain, pinna gain. You know, it goes up fairly noticeably to 2.5, 3K. But I expect that out of planars. I expect the details. I expect the treble energy, and this delivers all of that very accurately. It is a solid example of a 14.2 millimeter planar, and I think it is maybe a more natural sounding planar, as well as not having a super sizzly top end, which is nice because I think it will be a very broad appeal. I am because of that as well. I don't really have a bad thing to say about it. I think it's a great set. I think it's a great value. And that's the end of the video. No, I'm just kidding. People, well, at least a couple of people, a couple of my lovely subscribers have been asking me to compare it to the T10. And because I did do that for a significant amount of time over the past several days, we will get to the results of that now. So, if you look at the frequency response graphs of these, and hold on a second, let me see if I've actually got them up still. Yeah, they're the squigs. We'll try to get in here for you. This is the Nice HCK F1 Pro. I really hope I'm getting this in the screen. You can see that elevated sub bass with a nice amount of mid bass. A very slow roll off to the mids. These are more U-shaped than V-shaped in my opinion, but that's my opinion. And then you get the ear gain here. You get a slight peak at 8K. That could be an artifact. We all know that. Dip here, which I think takes the edge off of the sibilance. That's why there isn't any. And then it comes back up, but nobody's really hearing much above 15K anyway, so that, I don't know. My ears don't hear this up here, that little peak. But it's not really that much of a peak anyway. So there's the F1 Pro. I wish I could overlay these, but they're two different testers, two different reviewers that did these, so it's impossible to overlay them. And then let's get the Artti up here. Artti T10. As you can see, really similar. I mean, really similar. They could be twins. I don't know. What do you think? So close. So, what does that mean? Recently, somebody told me that you can't if the way that something graphs is the way that it sounds, period. Like the frequency response is the frequency response. That is empirical data. That is irrefutable. I will say that's true. It can't sound different than it graphs from a frequency response standpoint, but these do sound different from each other, even though they graph very, very similarly. I mean, super close. Where I think the F1 Pro has the advantage is that it sounds more like a planar than the T10. So if you're a fan of planar headphones or earphones, sorry, we're talking earphones, but headphones too. If you're a fan of planar magnetic drivers, the F1 Pro is textbook. It's just better than most that I've heard ever. You know, if you're a fan of more of a fan of dynamic drivers, then it's definitely the T10, because the T10 sounds like a freaking hybrid. Like I said in my review video, it sounds like a hybrid between the two. So where the T10 wins is in sort of bass punch and slam, and in a more natural presentation. So in my opinion, all things aside, this is including how they look, what they come with, etc., it's still the T10. And that's regardless of price too, because the T10 is significantly less, and basically $20 to $40 or $30 to $40 less than the F1 Pro. If I had to pick one, guys, it would be the T10 still. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. And you know, I mean, but again, it's my preference, it's my opinion. I like the natural presentation of the T10 just a little bit more than the more planar presentation of the F1 Pro. These are two IMs that have now made my top 5, and that is along with things that are $200 and $220. So I mean, they're up there with the Chopin, they're up there with the Quintet, they're up there with the Ulim. The Ulim is still a unicorn to me, so that's top 5. And then these two, that's the top 5 right there. So two $200 IMs, one that's $120, one that's $100, and one that's $70. The two planars, the two planars are fantastic. But my pick for me and my preferences in my library, as HBB likes to point out, is definitely the T10. Not by a ton, just by a smidge, but that's still the one I'm going to go to. And it's $20 to $30 less, and it's got a great cable, and you probably want to tip roll, because these just sound better with like better tips. They just do. So that's my recommendation. I would get some render tips, I'd get some Tangzu tips, I would get some of the Sedna EarFit Xlastic tips for these to make them really shine. Sorry that took so long, but there you go. There's your winner, the Artti T10. This, a very, very, very close runner-up and an excellent value at right around $100 less on sale. I'm sure you can find it. I think I paid $90 for mine. The F1 Pro and the Artti T10, if this is the direction that planars are headed, they're going to get a much, much wider fan base than they have right now. Much wider. Because they're damn good, and they are really reasonably priced. So winning combination right there. That's all I got for you today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Love y'all. Nothing but peace to you. See ya.